kind of charge they want against police officers and get away with it. You know, there's a mentality out there that if you get involved with police, turn around and sue them. You know, they're afraid of losing their houses and their homes for doing their job, but we're fed up with it, and we're going to react. And when people go out there and they accuse the people I represent of wrongdoing, they better be right, because we're going to react. We're not going to sit back and take it anymore.
He maintains, Bill, that during a trip to the bathroom at the central booking office in Manhattan, he was dragged and beaten to the ground by an officer.
Well, again, you know, there is at the times when Mr. Kaufman was offered medical aid, not by police, but by people from the hospital services, the medical services, he refused any medical aid. So where are these injuries he's talking about? Where are these assaults? Where are these beatings? Where are the evidence that he even wanted medical assistance for anything that was done to him? I can't respond to everything specifically because I haven't gone through it step by step, and the attorneys are doing that.
Now, you got to, Bill, just a moment. You're telling us he did not receive any medical treatment?
He signed a release refusing medical aid.
But he maintains now that he suffered a severely sprained wrist, cuts, bruises, requiring medical treatment.
And Bob, when we attend to get this information, he signed in his own hand a refusal for medical treatment by the hospital personnel when they arrived, when our police officers, when he complained of throwing up and possible stomach ulcers and pains in his stomach, called for medical assistance.
No.
Mr. Kaufman refused that medical aid. Not the police officers, Mr. Kaufman did. The police officer went to the hospital and received medical treatment.
On June 1st, the state acknowledged that it had insufficient evidence to bring charges against Professor Kaufman.
And this is what we may ask the special prosecutor to look into. Because, again, we have a police officer with a physical injury. The law says a physical injury is an assault against a police officer. The law says that it is unlawful for a citizen to resist arrest, even if, in fact, that arrest may be unlawful.
Is it true that Sergeant Charles Tyrrell and officers Andrew Capozzi and Manuel Vega are under suspension?
No, that's not true.
They are not under suspension?
Not true. They're not under suspension.
Were they under suspension at all as of June 5th?
Not to my knowledge, Bob. There's been no suspensions whatsoever.
You don't know that on June 5th it's alleged they were suspended?
I didn't hear that said, and to the best of my knowledge, none of these officers have been suspended.
Well, then you'd better call the New York Times, Howard W. French, and tell him that he's making a mistake.
That I will do. Again, I've been reading and listening on this case, and it's getting to the point where I had to react. It's getting sickening, some of the things that are being said.
Well, right now they put out the word that those three guys are under suspension, which of course would make any normal individual suspicious of them.
Oh, definitely. And, you know, I listened to some of the things Mr. Kaufman was saying, and I listened to some of the interesting questions you had for him in trying to get to, I think, some of the truth in the matter. And, you know, he was talking about his what he felt was his obligation to report any physical violence and whatever. And when you asked him about, you know, had he ever seen an individual hit with a radio, as he accused the sergeant of doing to the individual he was arrested with, what he thought was this bizarre scene of all the blood. And to my knowledge, from what I've been told, there was very little bleeding of the individual who was being arrested. But the fact of the matter is he talked about he has seen street fights before as a person that lives in the city of New York. I wonder if he's ever reported any of those fights, because that was his statement, that he would report any kind of action that he saw like that of physical violence.
Well, I think the professor feels a very deep emotion about all this, because anybody who uses language such as he was pathetically docile, that indicates to me that he has the guy with the badge confused with the other guy.
Yeah, and I think he has a flair for the dramatic also.
Huh? It's a dramatic story indeed. Bill, we thank you for coming to the telephone.
Thank you, Bob, for giving me the opportunity to respond.
It's now 13 minutes before 4.
Hi, Bob. Always a pleasure to hear your familiar voice. I just wanted to alert you, Bob, since you've been very helpful to some of the things we've been trying to do over here in Jersey, you and your listeners, that a number of family and constitutional rights groups, including New Jersey and Pennsylvania chapters of VOCAL, that's Victims of Child Abuse Laws, the National Organization of Men, Fathers United, and we're pretty sure at least one veterans group are all joining the Coalition for the Unjustly Accused this Monday at
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for taking my call. I've been listening to you for a long time. I do not get often time to talk to you, to call you, but today is Friday, and you're closing early.
What would you like to say, Bob?
Okay, let's get to the point. I'm talking about Waldheim.
All right.
I wanna hear your opinion about him being invited to the Vatican, and I also want to make a comment.
All right. Well, first of all, he wasn't invited. He had requested. You want to hear me, Bob?
Yeah, I'm right.
Okay.
Yes.
He was not invited. His government had requested, as all governments do, a meeting with the Pope. He wanted to have a meeting with the Pope. It had been turned down several times. Finally, they agreed to see him. What the Pope does, I suppose, is the Pope's business. What I do is my business. What you do is your business.
Right.
I don't think anybody who's heard me knows how I feel about Kurt Waldheim, knows what contempt I've held him in for a long time before everybody else did. If I may brag a little bit, Bob.
I'd like you to...
Back in the 70s, when this jerk was the Secretary General of the United Nations,
Right.
I was getting my former employers all nervous because I was attacking Waldheim every day. So nobody has to tell me what a lowlife he is. But I think we're overreacting over the Pope's giving this guy an audience.
Like I said, I want to leave room for comment.
All right, comment.
I've been in the practice. I'm a survivor from the Holocaust. I've been in the woods. I've met the Pope. We've been together. And I couldn't believe him, turning the other way, to accept, things that I don't accept. Whether it's Craig Waldheimer or Arafat, and I'm very much, I can understand it. Maybe it's part of the policy in the Vatican that they gotta, appease the people. I don't know.
All right, Bob. Thank you for the call.
No, I want to hear your opinion. I want to hear your...
Yeah. All right. Keep listening to the Bob Grant Show, and you'll hear my opinion.
Hey, Bob, I'm going to go back to the beginning of your show to respond to your opening comments in reference to the movie that's being blackballed, Hanoi Hilton.
The motion picture that has been suppressed.
And I did use 489 WABC.
Good for you.
I'd like to talk about Carolyn Pitts, but before that, Jerry called about that Art Rush show last night. I turned it off. Eli was on there. I'm going to write a letter to Mark W. Mason expressing the thought that I want to hear sports, not commentary. If Art Russ wants to do a show like yours, he should do a show like yours and forget about sports. Back to Carolyn Pitts. Isn't it interesting that they let her go because she had falsified materials rather than the racial things that comments and the book that she put out? They used that as an excuse rather than the racial thing. I thought that was very interesting.
By the way, she'll pull an Alvarado. You'll see she'll resurface in another state job within the next couple of months.
You're right, Bob. She'll be back, and much to our chagrin. Thank you.
All right. Think about it. Thank you for the call.
All right. Bye-bye.
24 minutes up. I can tell you this. It is that many, many individuals do not believe in the First Amendment of the Constitution of the United States. Many people do not really believe in freedom of speech. I can tell you that as we speak, there are those nefarious individuals who want to take away your right of free speech. There are those who have sworn they will never rest until they get rid of me. And why? Is it because I go to their homes and bash them? Is it because I am poised with weapons ready to shoot them? No, as a matter of fact, they don't even know me personally, nor do I know them personally. It is they are afraid of my exercising my editorial freedom. The fact that they will win eventually is not to be misinterpreted by you. I say they will win, which does not mean they will get rid of me and that will be the end of it. They will win because they will totally destroy freedom of speech in America as we know it today. They will, in the final analysis, find the greatest defeat of their lives in what they perceive to be their victory. Because just assuredly, I can guarantee you this, and I think most of us will be around to see it, they themselves will feel the brunt of what they will create. If I am somewhat vague at this point, please forgive the vagueness. If there seems to be an opaque luster, an opaque quality, I should say, to what I'm saying, please forgive it. But the day will come when you will understand why. I guarantee that. Larry, hello.
Hi, Bob. I just want to say that all of these people that are coming to get you, they're going to have to come through me first.
Well, that's meaningless, Larry. You're out there in Copaig, and you would tune in your radio. You would tune in your radio one day, and you would find some pigeon-livered pipsqueak, totally uninformed, telling people how great he felt and asking them how they were, wasting time in meaningless badinage. And then you say, gee, where's my guy Grant? So don't come out with well-meant but silly sayings like they'll have to come through me first.
Well, Bob, I just want to say I heard your conversation with Mr. Slewer the other day on Wednesday, and you opened my eyes that day, probably like they haven't been opened in a long time. I never really knew what to think of the guardian angels, and especially Curtis himself. But after that conversation the other day, I'm telling you, I just never had my eyes opened like that. And I just want to say, when the Guardian Angels first organization was first started, what did you think of them?
Well, of course, they started out as the Magnificent 12 or the Magnificent 13, and they had invited me shortly after they became known as the Guardian Angels to observe them. I rode with them. I was, I don't know what you'd call it, a mark.
Yes.
I took the number 2 train and then transferred to the double L to Livonia, and just sat there in a 3-piece suit, pretending like I was reading a paper with a watch, with a ring. And there were several times that mutants tried to mug me when all of a sudden, lo and behold, ipso facto, boom, there were the Guardian Angels. So naturally, what do I think of them? What do you think I think of them?
I mean, that wasn't a setup at that point, was it? I mean, as far as, them making you think that they were helping you, right?
Do you think they could have fooled me?
Okay. I believe you. I'm very glad. I'm very glad to hear that that Curtis himself...
As Curtis Sliwa himself said, I supported them before it became fashionable to support them.
Yes, and do you believe that they're doing a good job right now? I don't live in the city. This is why I'm asking you these questions.
I think that the Guardian Angels are doing a good job. I don't think if they were to disappear tomorrow that you would know about it out in Copaig. I don't want to say that they are the thin red line between what's left of civilization and the brigands. I don't want to exaggerate. Thank you very much, Larry.
Thank you, Bob. Keep up the good work.
16 minutes now before 5 o'clock.
It ought to be considered as we're talking about the Arms Control or the Arms Export Control Act and things like that.
Isn't that amazing that legislation existed and yet seemed to be hidden in the ruins?
Yeah, you go through the law books, you'll find some interesting things.
Did you bring this out at the committee to Congressman Hamilton or Senator Inouye?
Oh, yes. In fact, I asked for our staff to put it on a big big cardboard exhibit and to put it up on the wall along with all of the other exhibits. And occasionally it finds its way up there.
What was their reaction, and indeed the reaction of Democrats in general, to your bringing that to their attention?
Well, there's really no reaction. They listen and then move on. Citations of the law, unless they fit a prearranged pattern of what they want to do, get short shrift. But this law, I think, will be part of the final report. At least I'll make sure it's a part of the Republican end of the report, and it's something that Judge Walsh will have to consider if he thinks any crimes were committed in violating the Boland Amendment or, as I say, the Arms Export Control Act.
Congressman Hyde, are you aware that Hamilton Jordan, who had been chief of staff in the Jimmy Carter administration, had left a memo for Messrs. Deaver, Meese, and James Baker, warning them about the power of the special prosecutor, the law permitting wide-ranging probes by special prosecutors, and that it should be severely amended. He said, if it is not, it will rear up and bite the new administration, no matter how scrupulous you try to be.
Well, you know, I was aware of that memo, and I know it kind of got pigeonholed because I'll tell you, Congress set up the mechanism whereby independent counsel are appointed on the premise that it's hard for an administration to investigate their own, especially political people. And I think that's true. There are constitutional difficulties with the appointment being made by the judiciary and not by the executive. But I do think, in concept anyway, the notion that the administration should investigate itself is not a good one. We didn't like it when Griffin Bell would investigate Hamilton Jordan, and so we shouldn't be too critical when people don't want Ed Meese to investigate Mr. Deaver. But there may well be some legal problems that need to be ironed out. I hasten to add, however, Congress investigates itself. We have ethics committees made up of congressmen, and that isn't altogether effective nor perhaps healthy. A conflict of interest arises. We all rally around the club, and so maybe we need a device whereby we'd have independent counsel look at ethical charges against congressmen.
One final point, Congressman Henry Hyde of the state of Illinois. We have a bit of a recess here. At July 7th, there's supposed to be a resumption of your committee's activities. We are hoping that Oliver North is the next person to testify. We've been told that he will be. The testimony, however, of Assistant Attorney General Cooper yesterday, where he flatly said, in answer to the question, would you believe him if he were testifying under oath, Mr. Cooper said no.
That's right. I know he did.
Now, you're going to be sitting up there in that committee. You're going to be asking questions. Will you believe him?
Well, I'll tell you, I think I will because, but not necessarily. I shouldn't say I will believe him in front. I don't know. But I would say the incentive for Colonel North to tell the truth will be maximized because of the perjury laws. If he lies deliberately to Congress or in answering any of these questions while he's under oath,
California. Oh, dear. Hello, Mike. How you doing, Bob?
What's on your mind, Mike?
I want to make a point about why New York City changed. You see, I moved out of there 10 years ago, and this happens to be the anniversary of the blackout. I can remember that day. Now, I think the problem with New York City is the people. They don't have the pride they used to have. They don't look out for each other. Everybody's just out to see what they can get for themselves. I think, on the anniversary of this, of the blackout, I can just, look back and think of what people did then. Now, if this may have happened 30 or 40 years ago, I'm not saying I'm that old or anything, none of this would have happened, This is really the problem. I think this is a big problem also with people in this country, They don't take pride in their work. That's why America and everything's
then at another radio station, and was on the air while it happened because, like some idiot, I was doing a 12 midnight show. And I had a caller phone from Upper Manhattan telling me that they were rioting, that they were burning, they were looting. That was it, looting. And we got calls saying, don't say anybody's looting. I said to the program director at the time, who was not a wimp, who was a decent guy, I said, hey, listen, Dan, why do you not want me to let that go out? He said, well, we don't have confirmation. I said, well, there are a lot of things we don't have confirmation on. This is a talk show. People are calling in. The guy told me what he saw. So don't put any pressure on me to censor what the guy said he saw. Well, lo and behold, as you well know, the looting was considerable. But in the blackout of 1965, I believe it was, or 68, back in the 60s, I was not in this city then, broadcasting from the West Coast at that time. There was a blackout, and people were not looting. And I'll tell you why. Because the composition of the population changed. Thank you, Mike. WABC time is 18 minutes before 6 o'clock.
For Eleanor Clift of Newsweek magazine. I think it's important to know where he's coming from. Newsweek magazine, many people don't know it, is owned by the Washington Post. And the Washington Post is the public relations office of the McGovern wing of the Democratic Party. I saw her on a TV program called the McLaughlin Report on Sunday, and she blasted Oliver North as a complete phony. I mean, it's obvious she hates his guts. And, these liberals are, these media liberals, Bob, I really believe that they are, I mean, the objective of this thing is to get Ronald Reagan. And I think that they are trying to repeat their great Watergate triumph of overthrowing a Republican president that they couldn't defeat at the polls. What do you think of that, Bob?
Well, I think that the timing is not the same, because the election re-electing the president occurred in 1984, and he only has about a year and a half to go. I don't see it would be to their advantage. First of all, it would not succeed because there's not impeachable grounds. There's no grounds for impeachment here.
Well, they succeeded in crippling him to a great extent.
Well, that, of course, they would be trying no matter what. That, of course, we understand that. And I said earlier, the basis for the committee hearings were political. That had not the Democrats won the United States Senate in 1986's election, we would not be seeing this this display of partisanship.
Yeah, Bob, I'm convinced that any Republican president in the future, unless they're completely passive and just take orders from the Democratic Congress, will face a...
Well, why does it always have to be a Democratic Congress?
Well, the Congress apparently is elected on local...
Well, I'm going to answer my own question, because the way the election is set up, the way the election laws are set up, incumbents are favored. And that's why 96% of all incumbents keep getting re-elected. And that's why the House, I guess, will always stay the way it is.
And I think they will... Well,
and most people don't even know what's going on. Take my district. I live in the 6th district. And the guy who represents that district...
New York Post article, 25th of June, was it? Concerning
the various contributions made to
left-wing
Democrats from a PACS group.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
One would almost analogize the state-controlled radios, such as in Russia, as to the way the media very suddenly quiets things up if it's against what some of the things they do in this country, and it never gets out. I just wonder why that hasn't been blown up and called to the attention of the American public the way I feel it should be.
Mm-hmm. Well, to a great extent, it's because of the agenda.
Mm-hmm. And the exponentiality of keeping that quiet.
Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Hello?
Yes.
Hello? Bob?
Hello, Ralph. I don't know what happened with Chris. Hello, Ralph. Do we have a problem in there? No. Okay. Hello, Susan. On WABC Talk Radio, this is Bob Grant. Hello. Susan? I don't understand it. Well, we're being sabotaged. It's very possible. Wouldn't be. What happened?
Equipped at manufacturer's suggested price. Sales taxes in the tri-state area can be as high as $2,390. On the elegant Cadillac Seville, the sales taxes can be as much as $2,450. As former Commissioner Kaplan points out,
they won't be deductible anymore after December 31.
See your Cadillac Tri-Statesman now, not just for the deal, but for the deductions.
Listen and learn, or call and add to the conversation. Talk Radio 77, WABC.
Right now, Joe Nolan, Shadow Traffic Report, sponsored by Somerset Tire Service.
And, Robert, we've got ourselves bumper-to-bumper traffic on Route 3, westbound for 2 miles, getting into Grove Street in Clifton. A two-car accident there in the process of being cleared. Outbound Lincoln and Holland Tunnels, about a 20-minute delay. Inbound, both 10 to 15. Northbound Garden State Parkway, still heavy and slow as you start to come away from the Union Toll all the way up to 145. We've got ourselves a pretty decent day on the outbound Grand Central. We're slow around LaGuardia, and then from Jewel into the Van Wyck. Outbound Long Island Expressway, slow from Queens Boulevard out to the Grand Central Parkway, and north on the Van Wyck, we're slow from Kennedy up to Q, and on the Cross Island southbound from Hillside Avenue down to Linden Boulevard. We also are looking at slow going on the west side northbound into the 50s, a one-car accident blocking the right lane, and then all three, Harlem River Drive, west side, and Deegan, all slow from the 140s up to George, and on the Bruckner northbound, we're very heavy again from the Triborough right on up and into the drawbridge, and at least at this point, mass transit pretty much behaving themselves, really nothing overly terrible. It is 5:30, and I'm Joe Nolan, WABC Shadow Traffic, with more of Robert Grant.
At 29 minutes before 6 o'clock, here's Kathy Karpin.
Thank you, Bob. Temperature's been holding at 51 degrees, cloudy skies in Midtown at 5:31. Two Port Authority police officers, Bill Longo and Bill Moran, stepped into the Sage Diner in Queens for a cup of coffee after finishing their tour this morning. They didn't realize, though, a burglary was in progress. Here's what Longo saw.
Had a black man in a combat position with a gun pointed right at us. He fired, and I believe at that time he hit Bill. There was only one place to go. There was no cover in the diner. We headed back out the door. As I turned, I was shot in the back.
Longo's wound was superficial. Moran underwent 2.5 hours of surgery to remove a bullet from his chest. One of the two suspects was wounded and is in critical condition. Police are searching for the other one. A city council committee today recommended that the administration rehabilitate buildings it owns around the city to house the homeless. Councilman Abe Gurgis says it's not only the simplest solution, but the most practical as well.
By building 5,100 units, we can actually take the money that we pay the hotel owners, who are making enormous profits, and use that to pay off bonds that would pay for the rehabilitation of buildings.
Today's proposals are the outcome of a 6-month investigation of the problem. A study by the New Jersey Senator Richard Cody reveals that some prison guards are making huge amounts of overtime.
We need more men, we should hire them. But prison guards shouldn't be working 70 hours a week. They shouldn't be making $70,000 and $80,000 a year.
They can't find a non-Bob Grant person in Bergen County. Even Torricelli's a Bob Grant listener.
Is that a fact?
Yeah. He doesn't dare not listen. Listen, Bill.
Yes.
Thank you for the call.
Hey, listen, how are you tonight, Bob?
Well, I'll tell you, since we're getting close to 6 o'clock and it's a Friday...
Well, you have a great weekend.
You too.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Bye-bye. Got along before I met you, gonna get along without you now. Remember that song? Oh, here's Joe Nolan, Shadow Traffic.
Come on. The Italians always come out on the bad end of things, and everybody else walks, you know what I mean?
No, I don't know what you mean. If you've come to bury Caesar, not to praise him, you're succeeding, because you're burying your own cause. Mostly it's people like you who even bring up an ethnic group to other people's consciousness anyway. Organized crime is organized crime, period.
You don't think this occurs naturally to people?
I don't think so. It may have at one time, but I don't think so.
Well, I'm looking to see some coverage on it. I bet I don't.
right. I don't know what kind of coverage you want, but there's nothing more I can say to you. As I think you're looking for something that just isn't there. Okay?
All right.
All right, Bob. Thank you. Say hello to Lucy. Hello, Lucy.
Hi, Mr. Grant. How are you?
What's on your mind, Lucy?
Yes, I'd like your opinion on a divorce settlement. I'm married 3 months. My husband turned out to be a physical abuser. And after the trauma and all, I did go back, and it did get worse. And then
Well, if he was an abuser, why did you go back? I don't understand women who, once the guy serves notice that he's an abuser, that he's a no-good skunk, they go back.
I know.
What do you think, he's going to reform? He got it out of his system? Only a cabrón would think that.
I know.
What's a man just one time? That's all you need is one time, and that's it. He has identified himself.
Well, I filed for divorce, and in turn, it turns out that he was never legally divorced from his first wife. And now...
Well, then your marriage was never really legal, since in this country a person cannot be married to more than one person.
Right, but of course we went through the whole ceremony in church and all.
Yeah, but...
and I was wondering if I was entitled to the co-op or of a settlement.
Well, first of all, as much as I appreciate the call, and Lucy, I'm on your side, believe me.
I know.
In spite of having said that, I would rather see you call an attorney.
Oh, I did. I just wanted your opinion on, you think a person would be entitled to the co-op settlement, being that married, not divorced, and all that?
Well, there's no doubt that you're entitled. I think morally you're entitled to everything, including the skunk's skin. But, of course, courts don't care about what's moral, only what's legal.
Correct.
I think from a legal standpoint, since he perpetrated a fraud on you, since you entered in good faith into this contract, that definitely whatever assets are available, and if it's the condominium, then I think definitely all of it, or a good portion of it, should go to you. But you should walk away with as much as possible.
Well, I did walk away with my self-respect now. I've learned a lot. Whoever who's listening,
I doubt it.
A lot to walk
I doubt it.
Oh.
I doubt it. There's something about certain women that they have such low self-esteem. They get together with the skunks that beat them up.
Yeah, but you have to learn, and you have to pick up your self-esteem again.
Yeah. So what did your lawyer say?
No, my lawyer said it's you can't fight for it, but it's going to be a long thing because he's just not facing it. He just keeps on running away. He's not even getting a lawyer or anything.
A long thing.
I know.
A long thing. I tell you, if you were my sister, you know what I'd do? I'd go out and shoot this son of a... I'd shoot him.
That's what my mother said.
Yeah.
But each one has their own revenge. I don't look for it. I feel everyone has their own day. And I'm learning to like myself.
So the guy committed bigamy, he should go to jail for that, Did you know that?
No. Not that he would go to jail, but I knew...
No, bigamy is a crime. It's recognized as a crime in this country.
We got married in May, and he claims that he did not know that he was not divorced, because he said his papers were signed in June, and the...
Ignorance of the law is no excuse.
That's what I said. The judge verbally said he was divorced in January. In turn, though, he came out in June that the divorce papers were signed, but that's not legal. He still was not divorced when he married me.
Well, good luck to you, Lucy.
Okay, thank you.
All right, bye.
Okay, bye.
Hello, Patrick. You're on 77 WABC with Bob Grant. Patrick? Are you there, Patrick?
Good afternoon, Mr. Grant.
Yes.
God forgive me, I know nothing about the mechanics of city government. I've lived in the city all my life. But I'd like to impart to you a small story about the Board of Estimates.
Yes.
About 11 years ago, there was a friend of mine went to a city real estate auction. Are you familiar with the procedures?
Well, go ahead, Patrick.
Well, anyway, there were various parcels that the city had up for grabs. And there was a brownstone on the west side.
Was this sealed bid?
No, it was
open bid.
It was open bidding.
Open bidding. All right.
Supposedly open to the general populace.
Yeah, but I'm glad you used the qualifier, supposedly.
Supposedly, yeah.
Yeah. Because they're about as open as my foot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we walked in. The auction was in the old Commodore Hotel before it was renovated.
By the way, that was all set up in advance.
What was?
That auction. All auctions.
Well, anyway.
Did you know that?
No, I said.
Especially when, you hear the emperor say, city property's going to be sold. They got their buddies, their big real estate skunks, their pigs, who are the big real estate leeches, who are going to pick up the property. But go ahead.
So anyway, there were 4 or 5 parcels went, and our parcel came up, and this was 10:30 in the morning, 11 o'clock, and it was announced to the General Assembly that the particular parcel we were interested in had been sold the previous evening at 8:30 by the Board of Estimates.
See what I mean?
So, what are you going to do? You're going to holler cop? You're going to fight City Hall?
No, you get a machine gun. You go to the Board of Estimates.
Well, that's what I felt like doing. But, as I say, I don't know what the answer is, and I don't think anybody else does.
Well,
get rid of it.
Maybe we can ask God to recreate man, because the first time around he made him crooked as hell. I mean, it's just, is there a straight guy around?
I doubt it very much.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
I just want to let you know about that.
All right.
Bye-bye now.
Thank you. Hello, Joe.
Hello, Bob. How are you?
What's on your mind, Joe?
I want to talk to you about that skating rink. The ice skating rink where Donald Trump had it done in...
Yeah, the Waldman rink. Right. Yeah.
And Mayor Koch is blaming that Wick's amendment, and he couldn't get things done, and supposedly the Parks Commission has never followed through, Gordon Parks and the next fella. And do you know anything about this Wick's amendment?
I beg your pardon?
The Wick's amendment. Supposedly the state legislature, the lowest bidder of each company has to bid for a contract or something. You know anything about that?
Yeah, the lowest bidder is supposed to get the deal. That's it. Period.
Right.
No, nothing else. In other words, you can't. You can't ascertain the value of a bid versus another bid based on workmanship, etc. It's just strictly the low bid.
Right, Bob.
It's the price.
Like, not to interrupt you, but an entrepreneur like Donald Trump has such a great reputation that all he has to do is make a call, and if they want to get work done with him in the future, they'll make sure the job is done.
I have no quarrel with Trump in this matter.
It's too bad the city can't get things done in that aspect. It's a shame with all the money we have.
Well, I want to know why the public doesn't demand an accounting of $2 billion in the city budget last year. And you know why? First of all, the public doesn't even know about it. Secondly, because these were contracts done with private vendors, it doesn't have to appear in the general accounting office. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
Can you imagine the mischief going on between the Emperor's men and all those other sleazebags? Yeah. Thank you very much for the
press come out with it a little more.
Huh?
I'd like to see the press come out with it a little bit more.
Okay. Thank you, Joe.
Good night, Bob.
Good night. ABC. Hello, George.
Yes, this is George, Bob, from Little Ferry, New Jersey.
Yeah, George.
Very interesting advertisement of all places on the front page of the New York Times, lower left-hand corner, very bottom of the column.
Yeah, Jimmy Breslin. Jimmy Breslin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very, very puzzling.
Yeah, that was his cheesy way of letting everybody know that he was teed off because his program wasn't the success he thought it should be. That's what it amounts to.
One more item.
Yeah.
The comments that were made on the phone by a person who alleges to be this mutant Davis. He speaks about
Yeah.
All the things that he's troubled with and so on, and reporting that among the firearms in his possession is an 18-gauge shotgun. There's no such thing as an 18-gauge shotgun. And number two, a 45 caliber automatic with a silencer. There ain't no such animal. There is no silencer possible to put on a 45 automatic. So it makes me very suspicious about this character. Either that or he's just stupid as hell anyway.
Well, I'm afraid they'll take him alive. I was hoping they'd, shoot him down like the skunk he is, but I'm afraid they'll
executed on the spot.
They'll take him alive.
Yeah.
They'll take him alive, and there'll be stories written about him, and the next thing you know, you'll be thinking you're hearing about St. Francis of Assisi. Yeah, you'll get. As a matter of fact, I heard one jerk news person refer to him as an aspiring rock star, an aspiring rock artist.
Good God.
What that means is he was good at throwing rocks from high buildings or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you,
Time's
George.
running short. Thanks for hearing me.
Thank you, George.
Right.
Hello, Sam.
Yeah. Hi, Robbie. How are you?
What's on your mind, Sam?
Listen, I'd like to speak to you about, I'm an ex-convict. I spent 11 years in jail for homicide.
Huh.
And I'd like to say I can understand what Larry is doing right now as far as him being on the run. I can understand his fright for the police. You see, I have no respect for the police.
Well, we wouldn't expect a murderer, a person who breaks the law, an enemy of society, to have respect.
Oh, no. I'm not an enemy of society.
Well, what do you mean? You killed somebody, you're not an enemy of society?
Well, what I did, I paid for, Bob.
Paid 11 years?
11 years for homicide.
Gee, that's worse than being read over the air. What country you are from, so I can send you back there. Hello, Phil.
Yeah, Mr. Grant.
Yes.
First of all, I'm very annoyed that you didn't give that woman Lucy the condo. That when she asked you, should she get it, she was asking you for it.
Well, I could have awarded it to her. In effect, I did award it to her.
But I think you should have. Yeah. Be a decent sort of a guy.
I should have banged the gavel. That's what I should have done.
Right. Another thing is all these people that call you up and they all ask you how you are. And you get very put out about that. I don't know why, but I never ask you how you are. I just want to talk to you about such things.
Well, that's one of the few good things about you is you don't bother asking me how I am.
Okay. Now, this guy Bob called you up, and he spoke about something that's very close to what I like to talk about. Let's talking about Italian.
You make contact?
How you doing, Bob?
What's on your mind, Francisco?
Okay, you made a comment. Well, you talked about these the parents that got together down in Alabama about the problem of interracial dating.
That was Mississippi.
Mississippi, I'm sorry. With that, I have no problem with parents have a right to, more or less say who their daughter or their son can date. But when parents get together to talk about a problem like interracial dating, I have a little problem with that. Yeah, I'm Hispanic myself, and I'm of light complexion, and I've dated black women before in my lifetime, and it's just I like black women, and that's the way it is, and I've never had any problem with that. And but it was strange because, like, if I would be walking down the street, I had a date, and people kind of look at you a little funny. It's a shame that even today that people get upset about, a black man or a black woman dating a white man or a white woman. And parents have a right to, for their child, or their son or daughter to date who they want to date. But when they start to get together and all of a sudden it's a problem, I think it's going a little overboard.
Well, getting together over a problem is nothing new. As a matter of fact, it's an effective way of dealing with a lot of problems, whether they're drug problems or drunk driving problems or any type of sociological problem. And these teenage girls, there were 4 white girls who had dated these black teenagers. I presume they were teenagers too. And the parents felt a little awkward, felt a little uneasy, although they shouldn't have, because any father has a right, any mother has a right to say what that teenager is doing. Till that teenager becomes an adult, they have a right to oversee every aspect of their lives, and certainly a teenager has got to be guided. As far as the issue of interracial relationships is concerned, you don't sound like a teenager to me.
No, I'm 35.
Okay, so if people look funny at you, maybe it's your imagination. I don't know. I'm not with you. I don't see the looks that they give you or you say you get. So I don't know what you're, alluding to. It might be in your imagination.
Well, no, I mean, I've noticed it in the past, like when I was like 20, 21, and I remember dating a girl and took her to a play, and we went to a restaurant, and like it was, people just like looking, staring at us.
Staring? Well, I don't see that maybe years and years ago. How do you feel about yourself? How would you describe yourself?
I'm a very open person. I look at both sides. Even if I disagree or not, I like to listen to both sides. That's why I listen to your show.
Well, okay. You answered in such a manner that you showed me you have a good attitude, because that's the type of answer in an ideal world we would be looking for. But I was looking for a racial answer. In other words, racially, how do you feel about yourself?
I feel great. I feel fine.
Well, how would you describe yourself?
Well, I treat people as individuals. I don't treat them because of the color of their skin.
All right. If you were going to advertise in one of these classified sections for a date, you probably have seen in various publications that people will advertise for a date. How would you describe yourself? Would you list yourself as a Caucasian male? Would you list yourself? How would you list yourself?
I would put young Hispanic male.
Okay, Hispanic.
I would, because I think it would only be fair for the person who's looking to more or less give them an idea of what I am, and
Well, now you just said something. See, as a Hispanic.
Right.
As a Hispanic, the Hispanics in a way have an advantage that other groups don't have.
Right.
I'll use the word advantage. I'll try to present this in a positive light. They can be seen with a white person and not look out of place. They can be seen with a black person and not look out of place. They can seem to be comfortable with both. Yeah. But let's get down to the question that people don't talk about too much, and that is the question of why, when it's a black-white couple, 99 out of 100 times, the black one of the couple is male and the white one of the couple is female. Why is it always that way?
I'll be honest with you, Bob. I've seen it the other way around, too.
With a white guy? That's rare, though.
Yeah, well, I'll give you an example. Whoopi Goldberg, the comedian, she married a white man.
Yeah, but that's the exception rather than the rule. You walk down any street in any town in America, large or small, and when you do see a racially mixed couple, the guy's black, and the girl's white.
Yeah, I can't speak for the black man, because, I'm not black myself, but from what I've seen, from people I've talked to, there are a lot of black men who just, there's a fixation sort of a blonde white woman that they love. And I can't say why, but, it's like that. I've talked to people, in the past, and they say, I love white women, and blah, 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 like that. Yeah. I don't know why.
Well, maybe that just shows they have good taste.
Well, maybe.
Because I want to say something, and I don't give a damn if anybody wants to call me a racist or not. I think the most beautiful women in the world happen to be white women.
Yeah. Well, plus the fact that in advertising and in the media and everything, in all types of commercials and everything you see, white woman is very dominant. You don't hardly see that many black women in commercials or things like that, where you constantly bombarded by it. I guess maybe that's it. And it's more or less fixated in their mind. But before I leave, can I say one thing?
Sure.
I think you're better off being on the air, being nationally syndicated, than running for senator. And the reason I say that is because of the fact that you have that media clout. You're able to reach people. I think you'd be more effective reaching people more on the, through the air, or being like having a show, say, a la Larry King type of thing, something like that, than being senator, because then when you become senator, you seem to be, I can't say how you are, but you seem to be the type of person that would get very frustrated with all the red tape and everything that goes on with that. And I know you're not a butt kisser, you know. so I think it's because I'm very, you know, I'm more or less a student of media, you know, and I listen to you, even though I disagree with a lot of things you say, but your show is very entertaining, and I can't wait to put it on. I'm hooked.
Well, listen, I appreciate what you've just said, especially that part about my not being a butt kisser.
Yeah.
And if I run for the United States Senate, it will be to prove that, yes, even a person who's not a butt kisser can get elected. But I'll make that decision probably. This is August the 13th. Probably within, at the most, within 6 weeks. As a matter of fact, I'll be out of town over the weekend, a good part of the weekend, because of that possible senatorial run. But, you know, I'm going to be totally open with people like you, Francisco, and I'm going to discuss it openly, and I am inviting suggestions. I really am, because it's an awesome decision, and quite frankly, from a selfish standpoint, I probably would be better off staying where I am, because it would entail a lot of sacrifices.
Right.
So, Francisco, I appreciate what you're saying. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Have a nice day.
You too. 25 minutes past 3 o'clock.
That's 1.9 on Sprint, the mileage leader. 1.9 on Spectrum, the peppy Japanese-built Chevy. 1.9 on Nova, the highest quality car built in America. 1.9 on Cavalier, the best-selling subcompact of the 80s. 1.9 on new 1988 Corsica and Beretta, the new shape of Chevrolet. 1.9 on Camaro, the best-selling sports coupe. 1.9 on Celebrity, the best-selling midsize of the 80s. 1.9 on Caprice, America's full-size value leader. Tri-State Chevy dealers have a huge selection of all these best-selling Chevrolets. But with 1.9% financing, they'll be going fast. So act now and get 1.9% financing from your Tri-State Chevy dealer. We got what you're looking for.
Hi, I'm Bill Haber, the inventor of Easy Quit. I recently started speaking on radio all over America about my amazing patented device that's helped smokers cut down and even quit smoking. I guarantee it. Your money back if it doesn't work. It's helped thousands, so what have you got to lose except a bad habit? Easy Quit is not a pill, no drugs, no nicotine. It's 100% safe. Want to smoke? Just puff on your Easy Quit. It feels like a cigarette with a refreshing menthol-flavored taste, but you never light it. And yet it satisfies your urge to smoke until you...
25 minutes past 3 o'clock.
Today's Chrysler 50...
We're going to cut back on ad clutter. And who was the executive who said that? Bring him over here. A gentleman by the name of Mapes. Let's bring Mapes over here. Pearson Mapes, president of the NBC television network. Ad clutter. Speaking of clutter, no, that doesn't sound right. I don't want to make John Markham feel bad on WABC Shadow Traffic. Let's call him in. How's the clutter on the highways?
I don't like that segue, Bob. The highways are all right, basically. In Manhattan, however, northbound FDR, we still have that problem on the earlier accident, the overturned vehicle at 20th Street. That's been cleared, but traffic's still heavy in both directions. And also on the northbound FDR now, you're very heavy from the 50s through Gracie Mansion due to a water break. West Cross Bronx, westbound heavy approaching Castle Hill Avenue, also multi-vehicle accident currently being cleared from the right lane, and some right lane construction also at 3rd Avenue causing the problems there. Also traffic heavy from the Bruckner interchange through 3rd Avenue. And in Brooklyn, the westbound belt still heavy for a mile to Bay 8th Street due to left lane construction. Eastbound, you're heavy for a mile approaching Coney Island Avenue. An earlier disabled vehicle has been cleared, and you're still slow from the Mill Basin Bridge to east of Pennsylvania Avenue, also due to right lane construction. Out of the city, Holland and Lincoln both in good shape. The inbound Holland-Lincoln and GW Bridge also with minor delays this afternoon. I'm John Markham for WABC Shadow Traffic.
On the telephones, back to our New Jersey line, 489-WABC. From everywhere else, 212-877-WABC. How about that? 877-WABC. Hello, Doris. Doris is not there. We never have hang-ups on the New York line, only on the New Jersey line. What does that mean? Well, we have a battery of psychiatrists. We'll try to figure that out. Leonard, hello.
Yes, Mr. Grant.
Yes, Leonard.
I'd like to address the subject of your possible candidacy for the Senate. I think that we're all aware that candidates for public office bring with them a certain amount of baggage. Nixon shed his with his checker speech, and Jesse Jackson may have had some success in shedding that Hymietown remark, and Louis Farrakhan, and of course Gary Hart couldn't shake his excess baggage. I think that the problem you would face is the years on radio. I think that you would be the first to admit that there's been an awful lot of shooting from the hip. And the enemy camp is sure to record and research all of this. Now, I'd like to give you a for instance. It's one thing to think that the public debate you might have with Patrick Moynihan or whoever wins the Democratic primary, it's one thing to believe that you could chop them up with witticisms and cleverness and so forth, but the audience is going to be stacked with certain questions. For example, on your Monday show, when the question of Joseph Papp's sponsorship came up with the Cuban troubadours, you were quick to respond by saying that Joseph Papp and Ed Asner and a number of those people fell into a particular group, and you concluded by shouting into the mic that they should be exterminated. Now, someone in the audience is bound to ask you during a campaign whether upon reaching the Senate you're prepared to introduce a bill to implement and a mechanism for implementing the extermination of people who are disloyal or traitors to the United States, and who is going to make the decision. You would also be besieged from the audience by people who want to know when and how the Pope became irrelevant. And you may have great answers for all of these questions, but the point is that you're not going to debate the questions you want to debate. You're going to be besieged with all of the side issues. You've also said in the past that all the Fegeluch should be lined up against the wall and exterminated. These things have to come back to haunt you. And this is what is going to consume the debate. I think that fantasizing about chopping up Moynihan or someone else in public debates is one thing. The question you should have asked Mr. Clark and the people who are supporting you are the basic questions. And I have some experience in politics of this sort is, how much money are they going to raise and where's the money coming from? This business about raising $5 and $10 from listeners and your particular contingency won't amount to a hill of beans compared to the treasury that Moynihan's going to amass. And this is the important question, the money. The public debates and the press conferences are something else. And you must keep in mind that you can't hang up. You can't tell the press and the public at public debates to get off your phone. You're going to have to answer these questions, and you're going to get sidetracked with them.
Your throat is sore, so I'll be brief. You need good tasting throat relief. Throats get fixed with Vicks.
A sore throat needs real relief that's really delicious. A Vicks throat drop. It melts into a refreshing syrup that coats and soothes dry, irritated throats. Vicks throat drops, medicated, so use only as directed.
You've got a cold. Your voice keeps cracking. You sound okay, except you're quacking. Throats get fixed with Vicks.
Throat drops from Vicks, of course.
We're calling in WABC newsman Harley Carnes right now. Harley, do you have any further information on this most horrendous case, the case of the torture, abuse, and probably death of poor little Elizabeth Steinberg?
Well, Bob, there's not a lot of information to be gotten from HRA. As a matter of fact, this morning at 9:45, there was a meeting of some of the top officials of not only that agency, but I understand some others. And the decision that was made at that point was not to say much about it because it's under investigation, of course, and as is often the case, they don't say much. However, as you can imagine, as we've heard too, the girl is effectively brain dead. They haven't made the official declaration of it, but they have hinted as much to us, and I don't think that they bring these things up to us until there is a reason. That being the case, what happens if it's a machine that's keeping her alive? That's one of our next big questions. Who's going to order it disconnected? Is anyone going to order it disconnected? Normally that would be up to the parents. They would have to give the approval. In this case, the mother has not been arraigned but has been charged by police with attempted murder. The father is held without bail on attempted murder charges. If they disconnect her and she dies, what happens to the attempted murder charge? it obviously becomes a murder charge. Is he likely to give his approval to disconnect his daughter at that point? I think not. So where do we go from here?
Where is this worm being held right now?
I don't know, and I don't think they would be willing to tell us offhand exactly where he is. I think it's a fairly safe bet, however, that he is in some sort of solitary, because, as you know, people who attack children, rapists, and other people charged with those kinds of crimes tend to have a rough time of it in jails. And Rikers Island, if that's where they took him, would not be a friendly place for him.
Well, it's a sickening case. There isn't a person who's covered this story that isn't deeply affected by it, and I know that includes you, Harley.
Well, it certainly does. As a matter of fact, the first thing I did when Adam, my younger son, came in today was I motioned to him and I said, "Son, I need a hug." He came over and gave me a little hug, and I asked him if he knew about the story. And yes, of course, he knew about it. He'd heard it on the radio, as a matter of fact. And I guess the kids talk about it. It's an interesting thing. I spent a good part of today down in the Greenwich Village area talking to parents, to people whose kids may very well attend the same school, perhaps not the same classes. The ages, of course, vary. And you know, Bob, I didn't talk to one single person who didn't tell me I would very quickly report. As a matter of fact, we know that there were some, I think, anonymous reports made about this situation. I talked to William Grinker, who is the commissioner of HRA, and he admitted to me today that anonymous phone calls are treated lightly. They do not get the respect or the heavy treatment, of course, that one does if you give evidence and your name and a telephone number and the obvious willingness to become really involved. So that's very important for people to remember, I think.
Well, we can all pray for a miracle in the case of Elizabeth. We can all pray. That's all we can do. And Harley, I thank you for checking in with us. I know it's a long day for you, isn't it?
Well, you know, sometimes the story keeps you going. And stories like this, I think, galvanize all of us, not only into trying to find out more, but in trying to help people understand some of what may have not only gone on there, but what happens in family. This was a man who had a legal practice, who apparently had a fairly good legal practice. This was a man who his neighbors say they're very, those who knew him in the professional world certainly are very surprised to hear this. What happens to a family? What happens to a domicile? I won't call it a family or a home at this time. But what happens in there if things go this far awry? But violence becomes a matter of living and maybe dying.
Thank you, Harley. Harley Carnes, ladies and gentlemen, on WABC, following up on that incredible story, that devastating story. It's 26 minutes now past, 21 minutes past 5 o'clock.
Ain't no phone numbers like the ones I got. You can win more with Pick 4. I play 6 days, I play to win a lot. You can win more with Pick 4. Jersey Pick 4 is the game for me. You can win more with Pick 4. Hi, we're the Four Tops, and we're here to tell you you can win more with New Jersey Pick 4. For a 50-cent bet, you can win big cash prizes every day. It's easy. Just pick 4 numbers, or let the lottery green machine pick them for you. Any way you play, you can win more with Pick 4. That's why Pick 4 is top with us. Ain't no fun numbers like the ones I got. You can win more with Pick 4. I play 6 days, I play to win a lot. You can win more with Pick 4. Jersey Pick 4 is a game for me. You can win more with Pick 4. New Jersey Lottery Pick 4. Win big cash prizes every day. Ain't no phone numbers like the ones I got.
Come to Bell Atlantic right now, and you can get a Bell Atlantic car phone for $29.95 a month with no money down. That's
Hold it, stop, okay? Business people don't relate to words like no money down, okay?
No?
Say reduced liquidity requirements. Oh, and right now, make that prior to depletion of merchandise.
Let's see. So instead of get a Bell Atlantic car phone...
That would be procure superior quality mobile telecommunications.
And for this great price includes installation, choice of antenna, and hands-free speakerphone?
Replete with invaluable accessories.
So contact Bell Atlantic prior to depletion of merchandise to procure superior quality mobile telecommunications, replete with invaluable accessories,
in addition to reducing liquidity requirements. You got it, babe. Perfect.
Well, thank you.
In a nutshell.
Right now, with an annual service contract, you can get a Bell Atlantic car phone for $29.95 a month with no down payment and a low final payment. For details of this offer, call 1-800-255-BELL. That's 1-800-255-BELL. Or visit our new mobile phone center in Paramus at 185D Route 17 South. It's Bell or it's something less. Bell Atlantic Mobile. This morning on WABC Morning News Talk.
I heard somebody being beaten up. It didn't have to happen. It shouldn't have happened, and the child is dying.
A neighbor of Lisa Steinberg, the little girl allegedly beaten by her lawyer father. I'm Gil Gross. Tomorrow we'll follow up on this story, finding out how child abuse complaints are handled or mishandled on WABC Morning News Talk.
American Airlines and Chicago.
There you are, having a nice, quiet dinner at your favorite restaurant with someone special. Then you hear it. It comes right after the appetizer and just before the entree. The beeper. They need you in Chicago now. So you call American Airlines, because if anyone's got a flight leaving within the hour, they do. In fact, American has 26 nonstops to Chicago every weekday. So it's another missed dinner, another canceled engagement. But look at the bright side. If you're fast enough in Chicago, you can catch one of American's 26 nonstops back to New York in time to reschedule dinner. Again.
American Airlines, something special in the air.
It's American Airlines with 26 nonstops every weekday to Chicago. 9 nonstops from Newark, 15 hourly nonstops from LaGuardia, and 2 nonstops from Long Island MacArthur. Call your travel agent or American Airlines.
WABC, 25 minutes past 5 o'clock. Let's say hello to Gino. Hello, Gino.
Hello, Bob. Bob, I'd just like to make a couple of comments in response to the fireman who called you earlier, if I may. Number one, I doubt that any police officer couldn't pass the fire department test. Number two, when it comes to Nick Mancuso or Phil Caruso, Nick Mancuso couldn't carry Phil Caruso's shoes. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but a few years ago, I believe Nick Mancuso was the gentleman who called an illegal strike of his membership, knowing that...
Well, that was his predecessor.
Was that his predecessor?
Yeah.
I see. Well, so much for that idea. However, when this gentleman said that he knows where his fellow firemen are, I think we all know where they are. They're all in the firehouse, either in their lounge or in the bunks. So for someone to call up and tell you that the firemen opened their doors to a police officer for the entire night, well, we all know where his membership is. As far as mismanagement goes, the fire department's pension went bankrupt years ago. Thank God the city bailed them out. It sounds to me like this gentleman has got his wires twisted.
No, you know what it sounds like, Gino? It sounds like the recriminations that are taking place, which really, and I don't like to sound like a Pollyanna, really are a disservice to both departments, and above all, a disservice to the people of New York. And I think it's a disgrace that you two outfits are squabbling like this. It's a disgrace. And that's why I'm trying to have Phil and Nick in the studio. I want to knock their heads together.
Bob, number one, I'd like to apologize to Nick Mancuso for mixing him up with his predecessor.
Yeah, do you remember who his predecessor was?
No, sir, I don't.
You can't remember his name? Well, if nobody comes in with the name, I'll remember to give it before we sign off. But it wasn't Nick that pulled that. It was his predecessor.
May?
Huh?
May?
No, Mickey May was 2 guys before.
Right.
Yeah. Now, Mick wouldn't do that. For all his scoosh-tomato ways, Mickey May wouldn't do that.
No.
I
thought it was this gentleman, but...
No, I'll give you a clue. Give you a hint. Same ethnic background as Nick.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I thought so. I mean, that's my ethnic background. However, I also want to point out one thing, and believe me, I've got nothing against the fire department. I think they are indeed titled the bravest, and rightfully so. No one is questioning their bravery. However, I don't believe there's another state in the union that pays the fire department the same salary as their police department.
Well, that's because of the parity.
That parity is only in New York City.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that's because of the parity that the politicians, it goes back to, remember the Tower of Jelly?
No.
John Lindsay?
Oh, yes, that's Tower of Jelly.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, Gino. Hey, Gino, call Phil.
Yes.
Call Phil and tell him to appear on the Bob Grant Show with Nick and me, will you?
Well, I certainly would, because he is indeed a very polished gentleman.
I know, Phil, but there are a lot of hardheads. There are a lot of BBs on a BBA board that lean on him.
Well, and maybe rightfully so.
No, not rightfully so. Not when it comes to this issue. I think both you and the firefighters are both wrong. How does that grab you?
Well, the police department has bent over backwards in their attempts to uphold this parity amongst the other...
But parity is not the issue, Gino.
And money only.
Parity.
I mean, I'm not saying that they should be respected any less than the police department or the sanitation department should be respected any less.
No, but that is not the issue here. The issue is that the police department didn't like the edict out of the mayor's office giving the fire department jurisdiction in those emergency cases. You guys didn't like that, right?
That's right.
Okay, Gino, I gotta move on.
And that's another Tower of Jelly.
All right, listen, don't forget to tell Phil what I said.
The best.
All right, thank you.
Bob.
It's 529 WABC, Bob Grant right here, and Pete Torriello is right there.
And on the West Side Highway, right over here, we're very slow from the 70s all the way to 125th Street. Disabled taxi cab blocking the center lane, and then heavy up the GWB ramp. Outbound Lincoln and Holland almost neck and neck now, 10 to 15 minutes apiece. Southbound Bronx River Parkway, very heavy from the Cross County down to 233rd Street. We have road work in the left lane. And the FDR bumper to bumper from 14th Street up through the 60s due to construction. In Rochelle Park, southbound Route 17, 4-car accident, left lane just south of Passaic Street. They're backed up for about 3 miles. And on the Garden State Parkway, it's the usual beef and creep. Northbound from 143 up to 145. I'm Pete Torriello, WABC Shadow Traffic.
5:30, Bruce Anderson, what's new?
Bob's 6-year-old Elizabeth Steinberg was pronounced dead this afternoon. She'd been severely beaten by her adopted parents, apparently on Monday. Both parents have been charged with attempted murder. Those charges will now be changed to murder. Joel Steinberg is in jail. No bond there. Hedda Nussbaum, also beaten, is in Elmhurst Hospital in Queens. Stock market down 18 points today. At one point, it was down as much as 35. Dominic Blum, driver of the car that ran over and killed Michael Griffith during that Howard Beach incident last December, was on the stand today, testifying for the prosecution. Later, he told reporters about receiving a death threat.
Well, somebody on the other end of the phone said that just tell Dominic Blum that we're going to kill you, him, and his father. What was your reaction? Of course, I was nervous, cautious.
Blum is the third person connected with the Howard Beach case to have been threatened with death. The $10 cost of inspecting a taxi, which has been unchanged since the LaGuardia administration, will jump $5 under a bill unanimously okayed today by the City Council Committee on Transportation. Police recruit Patricia Quinn, who lapsed into a coma following a boxing match at the Middlesex, New Jersey Police Training Academy, has died. Lawyers for Attorney General Edwin Meese predict he'll be exonerated in an investigation of his involvement with the scandal-plagued WedTech Corporation, a Bronx firm. Meese completed his grand jury testimony today. We'll check the Weather Center forecast in just a moment.
I'd like to speak to you for a moment about a hard-working, perceptive human being. Someone who cares deeply about the community and is dedicated to making your life easier. Your Bridgestone tire dealer. What's he done for you lately? Well, now Bridgestone has made it possible for him to lower prices on most Bridgestone radios. He's calling it Bridgestone's Not Just Another Tire Sale, because Bridgestone is not just another tire. Does anyone else say they build performance into every tire they make? Nobody. And what does your participating Bridgestone dealer ask in return? Only that you come in and check out his special prices. What a beautiful person. But he's not perfect. No, if he were, this sale event wouldn't end November 7th. So hurry to the Not Just Another Tire sale from your Not Just Another Tire dealer. Bridgestone, I salute you.
Stop in at Bridgestone's Not Just Another Tire sale going on now at Town Fair, or check the yellow pages for the participating Bridgestone dealer nearest you. Remember, the sale ends November 7th.
From the WABC Weather Center, here's our forecast from meteorologist Keith Hyde. Fair and mild tonight, lows about 60. Partly cloudy, cooler tomorrow, highs in the mid-60s. And tomorrow night, partly cloudy, windy, much colder, lows in the 30s. And on Friday, partly sunny, a high about 50. Right now, 71, mostly clear. I'm Bruce Anderson, WABC Radio News with Bob Grant.
Get back to our busy telephones to say hello to Eddie. Hello, Eddie.
Hello, Bob. While you had Dr. Fontana on, I gave some thought to the inadequate protection of our rights, including children's rights. And I related it to an area that I've been involved with. I hope you'd let me express this. But many thousand Americans literally lose their basic rights.
Yeah, Eddie, you're talking about, wait a minute, let me see how good I am at mind reading. Dialysis, Eddie, dialysis.
Oh, it's not.
I get vibes that you're on dialysis.
Well, that is correct.
Thank you, Eddie. Hello, John. John, you're on WABC. Hello.
Hello, Mr. Grant. How are you?
Well, I tell you, I'm a little tired of hearing Eddie call about dialysis. He's been doing that now for about a year. And he keeps getting through over and over and over again. You know, it seems to me I've heard that song before, but, it's something like that. Anyway, what's on your mind?
Anyway, I'm a retired police officer, Bob, and I listen to your program every day. I'm calling from Rockland County. And I want to say something about the police and the fire brouhaha that's going on at the present moment.
Yeah.
I know Phil Caruso very well. I was a PVA delegate in the Bronx. I served 12 years in Fort Apache and 13 in the North Bronx. I don't know Mr. Mancuso. I believe he's an honorable man. But they should get together, like you said, a new show and talk things out. Because when I was a cop, we got along very good with the firemen in Fort Apache. We had to help each other, otherwise we wouldn't survive.
That's right.
So I thank you for listening to me, and good luck with your program.
Well, I appreciate what you're saying, and I hope that a lot of your compatriots have heard you, because you're saying a lot of things that are very sensible. How about put you to the test, though?
Yes.
Even though you've been a sweetheart, I got to do this to you.
Okay.
Do you remember Phil Mancuso's predecessor?
Phil Mancuso, he was the guy that fixed the election or something?
No, Phil Mancuso, Nick Mancuso, excuse me.
No, Nick Mancuso.
Nick Mancuso is the current...
Phil Caruso.
No. Never mind, John. Thank you very much. I meant to ask if you knew who Nick Mancuso's predecessor was. Jim, hello.
Hello, Bob. I'd also like to comment on the fire department and the police department. I didn't think it was fair the way that firefighter claimed that there were policemen sleeping in the firehouse all the time. And I believe the police department has bent over backwards during the years with the fire department, trying to help them, and they help each other. And credit to the city of the fire department. I believe they're very much. But I believe most of it has to do with money. I'm sure you
came out with a lot of findings that have not been implemented yet.
Exactly. Because the city doesn't want to pay their police officers more. I believe the police officers deserve more money. It's not that the fire department does it. And,
well, I don't believe it. By the way, I do not believe in fairness, by the way.
Neither do I.
I think each job deserves a certain amount, and just because you're all in effect city employees, that doesn't mean that you all make the same amount.
You're correct. If you'd like, I can give you some statistics on cost factor as far as the police department and overtime and the fire department and overtime. The manpower in the police department of about 28,000 last year incurred about $46.5 million. The manpower with the fire department is around 13,000, and they incurred $45.5 million. Now, if they want to expand their emergency role, what is their overtime expenditure going to be for the city next year? And the police department is I believe, not only I believe it's a fact, they're better equipped with their equipment than the fire department.
Yeah.
Let's let's say the fire department goes to a non-fire emergency. They do have emergency trucks that are equipped for building collapses and so forth. What happens then if there's a fire in their fire zone? Then they have to send another fire. They have to send another battalion from a farther distance to this fire. People could get killed. They should be exactly what their name is, the fire department. That's what I believe.
No, well, look, that's all well good for you to believe that way. And being as you are on the job, I suppose it's only natural you would feel that way. But the mayor's office came out with a finding. And in that finding, they determined that in emergency cases, they could not have a misunderstanding, so they had to delegate authority, and they gave the fire department the authority. Now, the police department could very well say, well, you're making a mistake. In the meantime, go along with it. But the kind of shenanigans that they did up in the 4-6.
Well, what about the Queens, Bob? What about what happened in Queens?
What are you trying to do? Have me tell you that two wrongs make a right? You trying to tell me that two wrongs make a right?
Definitely not. Definitely not.
All right.
But obviously it would bounce back and forth. The fireman will say, well, you did this, and we'll say, well...
I'm talking about the disgrace in the 4-6, and guys that are colleagues of yours on the job ought to be ashamed of themselves.
And the fireman shouldn't?
Well, I think that last night it probably was push came to shove, but when the fire department approached, how come the squad didn't move? You know why? They wanted to be mean, they wanted to be spiteful.
Well, and
childish, that's why.
As I got the story, they were there on a job, and the fire department was there on an unfounded job.
Well, the fire department was there answering the call, and the fire department had a right to access to that fire plug, right?
Yes, they did.
Okay.
And the police department had a right to be there also on the job that they run.
Yeah. Okay, listen, Jim, I appreciate what you're saying. Call Phil, tell him to appear on the...
I believe he's a good man, Phil. He's got his...
Well, you know what I think about Phil.
Yes, I do.
I think Phil...
Bob.
I think Phil is an intellect. I think he's a gentleman. I think he has given the PBA some of the finest leadership it's ever had. But I want to get Phil in here, and I want to get Nick in here, and I want to knock their heads together.
Well, it definitely has to end. We've always had a good rapport with each other.
I know. That's why I hate to see this go on. Jim, I thank you for the call.
Take care, Bob.
All right, 20 minutes now before 6 on WABC. I'm surprised nobody can remember. I almost said his name, but I don't think nobody can remember Nick Mancuso's predecessor. The guy who went out and took a nice big fat pension and really shouldn't have gotten it because he called the guys out. Remember the strike vote and all that? Oh yeah. I like Nick, but his predecessor did a bad thing. And nobody can remember, huh? Well, I'll tell you. I'll give you his initials. RV.
Now there's a magical reading course on cassette called Hooked on Phonics, which makes learning to read simple. Simple because Hooked on Phonics is set to music. This way kids learn phonics quickly, like a song. And when they master phonics, they can read and spell almost everything. So if you want your free schooler to become an excellent reader, or if there's an older student who needs reading help, call 1-800-ABCDEFG. That's 1-800-ABCDEFG.
Come to Bell Atlantic right now, and you can get a Bell Atlantic car phone for $29.95 a month with no money down.
Hold it, stop, okay? Business people don't make their words like no money down, okay? Say reduced liquidity requirement. Oh, and right now, make that prior to depletion of merchandise.
See, so instead of get a Bell Atlantic car phone,
that would be procure superior quality mobile telecommunications.
And for display price includes installation, choice of antenna, and hands-free speakerphone?
Replete with invaluable accessories.
So, contact Bell Atlantic prior to depletion of merchandise to procure superior quality mobile telecommunications, replete with invaluable accessories,
in addition to reducing liquidity requirements. You got it, Dave. Perfect.
Thank you.
In a nutshell.
Right now, with an annual service contract, you can get a Bell Atlantic car phone for $29.95 a month with no down payment and a low final payment. For details of this offer, call 1-800-255-BELL. That's 1-800-255-BELL. Or visit our new mobile phone center in Union at 2232 Route 22 East. It's Bell or something less. Bell Atlantic Mobile.
The season begins right now during Herman's annual free marathon sale, with the savings are just as exciting as the very first run. Save on Rossignol, K2, Hand-Free, and Venustar with every fee in stock at $40 to $145 off. Every package, that's food, bindings, and poles, $50 to $170 off. Every adult food from Nordica, Reichler, and Solomon, $30 to $40 off. Save 20% on all Solomon, Marker, and Tyrolean bindings. Even our entire stock of cross-country packages is now 30% off. Herman's Ski Marathon sale means savings on White Stag, Cherry, Slalom, Profile, Alpine Designs, and Herman's Ski Wear, too. Every parka's now 20 to 30% off. All bib and stretch pants are 20 to 25% off. All ski wear for kids, 20 to 33% off. And save 20% on our entire stock of ski suits, underwear, turtlenecks, sweaters, gloves, and mittens. Herman's annual Ski Marathon sale, where the ski season really begins.
Introducing the chairman of the board, Mario Perillo, for Perillo Tours. Jet setters know that Italy off-season is really the in-season. The crowdless time, money-saving time, and the weather just fine. Let Mario proclaim you a jet setter and save you $1,000 a couple. From November to March, enjoy the wonders of Naples, Rome, Florence, and Venice, and let Perillo take care of everything. We start with Pan Am's unparalleled in-flight service. Enjoy first-class hotels, great restaurants, and their own guides. Everything. Go Pan Am and Perillo, save $1,000, and leave everything to Mario.
For a free Perillo brochure, see your travel agent or call Perillo toll-free right now at 1-800-854-4000. That's 1-800-854-4000. A Perillo vacation is the best travel bargain in America. So call now, 1-800-854-4000.
It's Bob Grant here on WABC, and hello, Gary.
Yes, Bob, how are you? I was going to mention about the police fire feud, but that's sort of being a dead door with the last few callers you've had. One thing I'd like to maybe give you a little story about some child abuse thing that I had personal involvement with. I'm a policeman. I work in the South Bronx. And I guess it was back in 1982. I arrested a man, went on a job that came over to child needing medical attention, and went up to the apartment. And as we were going into the building, a man stopped me and my partner and said, "Oh, look, is everything all right upstairs?" And I've always gotten a little suspicious about people who are wondering why police are walking into buildings, especially in the neighborhood where, police get, we're constantly going into the buildings. And for some reason, I knew he had some involvement with the job we were going to. Went up to the apartment. There was a small girl. First name was Jessica. I don't know if I should mention the last name. I guess my memory is fading a little bit right now with the specifics on her age. She was less than a year old. And we saw her. She was very quiet. She had a bite mark on her left cheek. And from talking to the mother, she said that her common-law husband, who had since left the apartment before we got there, had beaten the child, and I don't remember what the reasons were. And I asked, what does he look like? Is he a big guy with a black suit? Yeah, so we went outside, and it was the same man who had questioned us as we were going into the building. So we arrested him, brought the child up to Jacoby Hospital to the pediatric emergency room. They took x-rays. The baby had multiple skull fractures. The nurses and the doctor said they were surprised the child was alive, but she was alert, which surprised me. And she was in Jacoby's emergency room, pediatric emergency room, and up in pediatric intensive care for quite a while. While the man was in jail out at Rikers Island awaiting trial, it was approximately a little over a year by the time I made the arrest to the time I went to trial. But in the interim, I received a subpoena to Bronx Family Court, and who do I see there with his lawyer and of course the court officers? There's the father fighting for custody of the baby while he's in jail.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the outcome of that was. Later on, we went to trial. I testified at the trial. The district attorney thought we had a very good case. Everything looked real well.
Yeah.
I never really followed up too much on it until about 5 or 6 months later. I got stopped on the street by a gentleman who said to me, "Aren't you the officer who was on the case with the guy?" I said, "Yes." "Well, then where are they?" He said, "Oh, I was on the jury." I said, "Well, whatever happened with that?" He said, the defense attorney and everyone, made their final statements and all, and the jury went in and they were talking, and they were ready to convict the guy, and they were told that the court clerk came in and told the jury that they were dismissed. And I asked, "What do you mean they were dismissed?" He said the judge threw it out because he didn't feel there was enough evidence to convict this man. And other dealings I had with the same judge, it brought to light.
What's the name of the judge?
The name of the judge was Judge Byrne, Bronx Supreme Court, B-Y-R-N-E.
Yeah, I heard of him.
Yes.
He's about as qualified to be a judge as Bruce Wright. So that ought to tell you something. Gary, I appreciate the call. Thank you very much.
Okay, Bob, thank you.
And of course, you heard the report that Bruce gave us a little while ago. Poor little Elizabeth. Poor little Elizabeth. Born with 3 strikes against her, really. Not 2 strikes. Born with 3 strikes. Oh, I hope there's a heaven. I really do. I doubt it. I really tell the truth, I don't believe it. I hope there is. Because I know Elizabeth's dead. That is so unfair. The little thing, 6 years old. How cute. Never did anything to anybody. Somehow or other, she got in the clutches of this monster. Hello, Bob. Hello, Bob.
Evening, Bob. This is Bob from Cranford. My comment is on the ballpark bond.
Yes.
I'd like to say that I think this is a victory for taxpayers.
Yes, it is.
Because the elected officials came out and they looked at the economics of what might be going on with such a stadium. Also, the public got involved and learned a bit about the economics. I myself, as soon as I heard about this 2 million fan guarantee, I said to myself, wait, who's going to guarantee the difference if only 1 million people come to the ballpark?
That's right.
So my comment is essentially this. If the public and or elected officials look into the economics behind social spending, defense spending, whatever the spending might be, and they ask themselves the question, what's it going to cost and do we really need it, then we might make some progress as far as lowering the burden on the taxpayers.
Well, I think people are a little more sophisticated, I think, than perhaps they've been given credit. The people in San Francisco rejected an issue. So if Mr. Lurie wants to move the San Francisco Giants out of there, let him move it out of there. New Jersey has gotten along quite well without a baseball team, and we really don't need it. As a matter of fact, we're too oriented towards spectator sports as it is. And I would like to, this is not number 1 on my agenda, certainly it isn't the head of my priorities, but I'd like to see Americans do things other than get involved with so much spectator sports. It's too much.
Good point.
Too damn much. You're going to hear our guru and his great program coming up, Sports Talk. And you'll hear Gavones calling, living and dying about the Giants, the Jets, the Rangers, the Devils, the Islanders, the Mets, the Jets, the Yankees. You know what? We need a pitcher. Why don't we get Bannister from Chicago? Okay!
Well, you have a point there. I mean,
it's too much. Too much.
Right.
Excuse me, I didn't mean to shout at you, Bob. I didn't mean to shout at you.
No, that's okay.
But I'm very upset about Elizabeth Steinberg. I mean, it just, I'm so frustrated. I caught myself while those loud commercials were playing before. I caught myself fantasizing, getting into where this monster is. You know, lying to the police and saying I wanted to interview him. And then I get there and I grab him and I choke him. And he suffers. And he dies. Joe Steinberg, he dies. And then nobody wants to indict me. Even Morgenthau says, I don't like this schnook, Grant, but I'm not going to indict him. Nobody indicts me because I did a favor for the city, for the state. I can't believe this Steinberg case, Bob. I can't believe it.
It's a tough one.
I mean, the neighbors had complained. Neighbors had reported. They had feared for Elizabeth. And yet, the agencies involved didn't do a thing. Not a thing. What kind of society do we live in, Bob? I ask you, what kind?
I have to say that with the comments that you continuously make on your program, as time goes on, maybe crime victims' rights will be given a lot more consideration rather than the criminals themselves.
Bob, if it doesn't happen, if it doesn't happen, I give it a decade, 15 years at the outside. More and more people are going to do what that gentleman did. Called me from Newark, told me about the 22 and what he did. More and more people are going to turn to that. Because there is a need deep in our hearts, deep in our souls. There is a need for justice. We cry out for justice, and we're not getting justice.
That's true too often.
Bob, I appreciate the call. Thank you, and please forgive my shouting, will you?
No, that's quite all right. Thank you.
Bye. Bye. Pete Torriello checks in now with Shadow Chatter brought to you by Motorola Direct, the cellular phone experts.
20-minute delays for the outbound Lincoln and Holland tunnels. Inbound Lincoln 20, Holland running 10. West Side Highway very slow from the 70s north to 125th Street. We still have a disabled taxi cab sitting in the center lane. And on the Long Island Expressway, eastbound traffic very heavy from the DQE out to 108th Street. In New Jersey, southbound Garden State Parkway jam-packed off the Indian Toll all the way down the line to 131 in Island following an earlier accident northbound on the Parkway at 135 in Clark. We have a report of a car fire. I'm Pete Torriello, WABC Shadow Traffic.
It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your family is?
I know. We'll be home soon.
This could happen to you. A late-night blowout on an empty road could easily turn into a nightmare. But emergency help can be just a cellular phone call away. Get help fast when you need it with Motorola Direct. In your business day, your car phone gets you through traffic, giving you productive business time. At night, it brings peace of mind, keeping you and your loved ones in touch.
Don't worry, honey. Your father and I just put Motorola phones in our cars. I'll call for help.
You, too, can have peace of mind. Just call Motorola Direct at 1-800-222-1637. In New Jersey, 201-447-7290. Order now and save up to $600 on our his and her car phone specials. For details, call 1-800-222-1637. In New Jersey, dial 201-447-7290.
American Airlines and Chicago. There you are having a nice quiet dinner at your favorite restaurant with someone special. Then you hear it. It comes right after the appetizer and just before the entree. The beeper. They need you in Chicago now. So you call American Airlines, because if anyone's got a flight leaving within the hour, they do. In fact, American has 26 non-stops to Chicago every weekday. So it's another missed dinner, another canceled engagement. But look at the bright side. If you're fast enough in Chicago, you can catch one of American's 26 non-stops back to New York in time to reschedule dinner. Again, American Airlines. Something special in the air.
It's American Airlines with 26 non-stops every weekday to Chicago. 9 non-stops from Newark, 15 hourly non-stops from LaGuardia, and 2 non-stops from Long Island to Brockton. Call your travel agent or American Airlines.
Whether it's listening to music or just hanging out with your friends, there's something about the night that makes it so right. So right at the night, and the night belongs to Vick alone. Vick alone beer, that's yours, sir.
Yes, sir. Can I help you? I'm trying to make my family a homemade Italian spaghetti dinner. Well, I'm Antonio. My Italian gourmet market is the place to come to.
What's this?
Fuego spaghetti, son.
No, I want the individual ingredients like
It's in there.
oregano,
In there.
basil,
In there.
garlic.
In there.
Are you trying to tell me everything, even herbs and spices?
Oh, it's your Fuego spaghetti sauce. Put your nose up against the jar, let me see.
It's in there.
Yeah. How about some nice bread?
Yeah,
Fuego spaghetti sauce and original and extra chunky varieties. Homemade taste. It's in there. Never had coffee like this before. Miracle, rich and dark and so much more. Bursting with flavor.
Miracle Dark Roast
Miracle Dark Roast coffee from Nature's Joy. You never had coffee like this before. Miracle. WABC, let's say hello to John. Hello, John. Hi, Bob. John from the kitchen. Yes, I feel like I'm inconveniencing all the interruptions of this call.
but I've got a couple of things for you. I was impressed yesterday with the fella who turned around. He seemed like he sort of feeling you're racist about the way you're talking. He turned his feelings around with explaining to him the individual. So I just like to say that.
Yeah, that was Kenneth, who sounded like a decent guy.
Yeah, good. I was in the car earlier and I missed when you were talking to the 39-year-old gentleman who's a former foster child, and I was just wondering if you ever found out what happened to his brother.
Well, his brother's doing quite well. His brother is in his own way equally successful and well-adjusted. And I would say that these two guys should publicize themselves and really go around the country doing a public service. Pretty good.
Yeah, they must have some real good inner feelings about themselves to make it do all that.
I think it's very vital that they do something. You've got to turn this thing around. I mean, there are a lot of things we waste a lot of time with, but this is something that is vital. It's a crisis, and it really strikes close to home. You know, this is something you're not going to get a lot of those phony rock stars joining hands and singing "We Are the World." You're not going to get that guy that kind of never takes a bath with the shaggy, stupid hair. He looks like the perpetual hippie. He's an old man, but what's his name? Nelson. You're not going to get him doing anything for it. You're not going to get Hollywood stars going onto the Pantages Theater. Oh, we've been grabbed by the top. Tell them off, I'll grab them out of you. Your influence counts. Yeah.